Good morning to all of you. Today we are going to discuss about the economies of scale and diseconomies of scale. Economies of scale normally is our large scale of production. That is, what are the advantages of large scale of production is the economies of scale. What are the disadvantages? It is diseconomies of scale. Let us start. The scale of production has certain advantages when it moves in a large size. In economic terms, we used to call the economies and diseconomies of scale. The economies of scale refers to the economic situation where the cost per unit of production, we used to mean as average cost, decreases because the output sales increases. On contrary, the diseconomies of scale refers to the economic situation in which the cost per unit of production, here also we are mentioning the average cost, increases because the output sales increases. On contrary, the diseconomies of scale refers to economic situation in which the cost per unit of average cost, the average cost increases. That is, when average cost is decreasing, we are earning more profit or we are having more benefit. When average cost is increasing, definitely it is we are losing some, we are making some additional expenditure. So what are the advantages of large scale is economies of scale. What are the advantages of disadvantage of economy, that is large scale of production, is diseconomies of scale. Let's move to the actual thing. This is a classification. Normally the large scale of production is divided into two categories. One is economies of scale, the another one is diseconomies of scale. The economies of scale is divided into internal economies of scale. The second one is external economics of scale. This internal economics of scale have different types. The following are the some of the type of internal economies of scale: technical economics of scale, marketing economics of scale, financial economics of scale, managerial economics of scale, labor economics of scale, economies of survival, commercial economics of scale. So there are a list of additional advantage because of the large scale. When a large scale, it is easy to use the technology. It is easy to market the product. For market, we have a structure, and financially we will become sound, and more requirement is needed. Definitely, instead of 10 product, if you sell 100 product, definitely financially you will become sound. So you need additional administrative skill. So managerial skill also required. Labor will be labor intensive. More employment opportunity will be there. So a lot of advantages in case of internal economies of scale is there. Likewise, there are some advantages externally. Economies of concentration, economies of information, and economies of disintegration. These are all the some of the type of external economies of scale. All these are coming under economies of scale. That is the benefit or advantage or that is good to us. The other way is there. That is, what are the disadvantages of a large scale of production is diseconomies of scale. So this is also divided into two categories. One is internal economies of scale, the another one is external economies of scale. Internal economies of scale, when you lack of decision and not able to supervise properly, and some problem related with technical issues, all these things coming under internal economies of scale. The other one is there are some disadvantages from the outside, that is external economies of scale. Increased cost of production, scarcity of raw materials, lack of skilled laborers are some of the external diseconomies of scale. These are the advantage. If you want to produce something, manpower is not there, then how can we? When supply is not there for a particular product, definitely it will affect the thing, because it's a large scale. For a small scale means we can maintain some warehouse. For large scale, a regular supply is there, proper production schedule should be there. So loss of control, and cannibalization. Cannibalization, there will be unfair trade practices. People will try to cheat others. So these things may happen because of the large scale. So today what we are going to discuss is what are all the advantage of large scale, what are the disadvantage of large scale. It is technically known as economies of scale, diseconomies of scale. There are two categories, internal external for economies of scale. There are two categories for diseconomies also, that is internal diseconomies of scale, external diseconomies of scale. We will see one by one. Some of these we will see. The economies of scale is divided into two, as I said earlier. Internal economics. Internal economies refer to the real economy which arise from expansion of the planned size of the organization. These economies arise from the growth of organization itself. The example of internal economies of scale are as follows. First, we will start with the technical economies of scale. This technical economies of scale will occur when organization invests in the expensive and advanced technology. This helps in lowering and controlling the cost of production of the organization. These economies are enjoyed because of the technical efficiency gained by the organization. The advanced technology enables an organization to produce a large number of goods in short time. Thus, the production cost per unit will fall, leading to economies of scale, that is advantage to the organization. That is why when there is a large level of production, we can use the technology and we can produce more goods in a short time. Definitely manpower will be reduced. We can invest for technical know-how. So this is a very first advantage under economies of scale, called technical economies of scale. The second internal economies of scale is marketing economies of scale. This may occur when large organizations spread their marketing budget over a large output. The marketing economies of scale are achieved in case of bulk buying, branding, and advertising. For instance, a large organization enjoy benefit on advertising the cost as they cover large audience. On the other hand, small organization pay equal advertising expense as large organization but do not enjoy such benefit of organizing, that is advertising cost. So this is the second internal economies of scale. Let's move to the third one. It's called financial economies of scale. The financial economies of scale take place when large organizations borrow money at a lower rate of interest. These organizations have good creditability in the market. Generally, banks prefer to grant loans to those organizations that have a strong foothold of the market and have a good repaying capacity. So one of the advantage of a large scale of production, the financial institution like bank and non-banking institution, they are ready to lend their loan because the repaying capacity of those firms will be good. The fourth internal economies of scale is managerial economics of scale occurs when large organization employs specialized workers for performing different tasks. These workers are expert in their field and use their knowledge and experience to maximize the profit of the organization. For instance, in an organization, accounts and research department are created and managed by experienced individuals so that all the cost and profit of the organization can be estimated properly. So this is an additional advantage for the large scale of production because there will be a group of experts which will administrate the entire thing, especially in accounts and research department. One last advantage is the commercial economies of scale. This refers to economies in which the organization enjoy benefits of buying raw materials and selling finished goods at a lower cost. Large organizations buy raw materials in bulk. Therefore, they may enjoy the benefit of the transportation charge, easy credit from banks, and prompt delivery of products to customers. So these advantages are there. It is commercially sound. So these are the internal economies of scale. There are few external economies of scales also there. Some of them I just let me continue with the external economies of scale. This may occur outside the organization. These economies inquires within the industries which benefit organization. When an industry expands, organization will benefit from better transportation network, infrastructure, and other facilities. This may help the decreasing the cost of the organization. I hope you understand. Some of these example of external economies I am going to list now. The first one is economics of concentration. This refers to economies that arise from the availability of skilled labor, better credit, and a transportation facility. Because we can outsource the labor, we can get better loan facility from the commercial and non-commercial banks or banking or non-banking financial institutions. And definitely a large scale mean there will be a factory, there will be some additional thing, market will be there, so transportation will become easier. The second advantage from externally is economies of information. This may imply the advantage that it is derived from publication related to trade and business. The central research institution or the source of information for this organization. The last external economies of scale is economies of disintegration. That means this refers to the economies that arise when the organization split their process into different phases. For example, the diseconomies of scale occur when a long run average cost will increase. It may happen when the organization grows excessively large. In other words, diseconomies of scale cause large organization to produce goods and services at an increased cost. So, what they will do, they just cut short the thing. The economies are there, they are split into process, into assembling process will be there. This is possible in the larger scale. So in order to avoid the disadvantage of the diseconomies of scale, the economics of integration is possible. Suppose there are 5 works is there, it will be split into 5 and each one will be act as a separate organization and they will assemble the final product. So let us move to the diseconomies of scale. Some of the diseconomies of scale we will discuss. One is internal, another one is external. First we should know what is internal diseconomies of scale, because that is a possible question. Define diseconomies of scale. There you should say in the large scale of production there will be 2 division. One is economies of scale, another one is diseconomies of scale. In this diseconomies of scale, that we should say there is an internal diseconomies of scale, other than is external diseconomies of scale. So how to define the internal economies of scale? Internal economies of scale refers to diseconomies that rise the cost of production of an organization. The main factor that influence the cost of production of an organization include the lack of decision, supervision, and technical difficulties. These are all the things we face internally. But there are few problems externally also. So it can be defined as external diseconomies of scale refers to diseconomies of scale that limits the expansion of the organization or industry. The factor that act as a restraint to expansion include increasing cost of production and scarcity of raw materials and low supply of skilled laborers and few more. There are number of causes for diseconomies of scale. Some of them I am going to highlight. The very first one is the poor communication. When industry become large scale, the first problem that we face is poor communication only. The poor communication act as a major reason for diseconomies of scale. If the production goals and objective of an organization are not properly communicated to employees within the organization, it may lead to overproduction or a production shortage. This may lead to diseconomies of scale. Apart from this, if the communication process of an organization is not strong enough, then the employees would not get adequate feedback. As a result, there will be less face-to-face interaction among the employees, thus the production process will be affected. So the very first problem for diseconomies of scale is poor communication. That will be miscommunication or communication gap. The other problems are lack of motivation. This lack of motivation leads to fall in productivity level. In case of the large scale, the workers can feel isolated and are less appreciated to their work, thus their motivation diminishes. Due to the poor communication network, it is harder for employers to interact with the employees and build a sense of belongingness. This leads to fall in the productivity level and output owing a lack of motivation. This further leads to increase in the cost of the organization. So, on a second advantage of large scale of production, lot of lack of motivation. Then let's move to the third disadvantage is the loss of control. Loss of control means it acts as a main problem for the large organization. Why? Because monitoring and controlling the work of every employees in a large scale organization become impossible and costly. Suppose you try to do, we have to monitor and we have to inspect, then it is a very huge burden. More number of employees will be there. Definitely it will take more time, energy, as well as it will incur more costs. That is why it is harder to make out that all the employees of the organization are working towards the same goal. It becomes difficult to managers to supervise the subordinates in a large scale organization. Apart from that, one technical point is there called cannibalization. அந்த இடத்துல நான் பழைய காலத்தில் நரமாமிஷம்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. Cannibalization means it implies a situation when the organization faces competition from its own product. A small organization faces competition from the product from the other organization, but whereas in the large scale of production, within the organization there will be a competition. Sometimes this large organization find their own product competing with each other. So there will be equal grade of manpower. They will say I need promotion. Suppose anybody is doing purposely, they will not allow them to do the work and they will just give reason that because of the large scale, and there will be unfair trade practices and indulge to do mismatched work. That is why cannibalization is one of the concepts. They will not allow others to grow. Growth in the large scale will be very slow. If you work in a private, within 2-3 years you will become a project leader and you will become a regional leader and you can have your own project. All this growth is possible. But in case of large scale, after 10 years only, the next stage you will move. So the cannibalization, even others will not allow to give that particular level of promotion. So these are all the problems that we are facing. Let me summarize. In case the firm move from initial stage, that is a small scale, to large scale, there will be some advantages, there will be some disadvantages. What are all the advantages out of large scale? We termed as economies of scale. What are all the disadvantages of large scale of production is diseconomies of scale. This economies of scale, that is advantages of large scale, is divided into two categories. One is internal economies of scale, the other one is external economies of scale. The internal economies of scale consist of different types of economies of scale: technical economies of scale, marketing economies of scale, managerial economies of scale, financial economies of scale, economics of survival, and commercial economics of scale. Like that, there will be n number of internal economies. These are all the advantages because of the large scale. Technically, we are sound means we can produce more within a short time. Marketing means we can get more market survival and market power, and we can get loan easily. And there will be a provision for new employment, administrative work will be there, and skilled labor we can get, and we can survive for a longer period. All these things are advantages which are all internal. Likewise, from external also we have many advantages with a large scale of production. What are they? It is external economies of scale. economies of concentration, that is called monopoly of economic of concentration, because he is the only seller and he will become the leader of the market. And economies of information, we can get good information. The local government, the state government and the central government will depend on us, so they will give more priority and other thing because it is economies of information. And apart from that, we can divide into different categories, and the economies of disintegration also possible. So each and every unit will act as a separate company, and on the whole we can get more advantage of it. So these are all the advantage as far as the economies of scale concerned. Coming to other side, that is it is one disadvantage of large scale of production or diseconomies of scale. Internal economies of scale, a lack of decision, poor supervision, technical difficulties, these are some of the problem internally. Likewise, there will be some problem externally. Increased cost of production, scarcity of raw materials, low supply of skilled laborers, loss of control, cannibalization, all these things. So when they ask in section A what is economies of scale, you just say the advantage are called economies of scale, disadvantage are disadvantage in a large scale of production. Suppose what are the types of that, then you have to write this particular flow chart or hierarchy is possible in section B. Suppose if they ask in section C, first you have to define what is economies of scale, what is diseconomies of scale, then you have to write this flow chart and give at least any 3 or 4 in each category. What is technical economics, what is, write one sentence in each, that will do. So in section C you can have a complete answer. First definition, then what does it mean, third one what is economies of scale, what is diseconomies of scale, in that further classification internal and external for both economies of and non-economies of scale, that is diseconomies of scale. Then total this technical, marketing, financial, managerial, labor, commercial, economics of concentration, information, disintegration. And what are the disadvantages? Lack of decision, supervision, lack of monitoring, the technical difficulties, more costly, there will be unfair trade practices, increased cost of production, scarcity of raw materials, low supply of skilled laborers, production schedule will be very costlier, difficult to move from one place to another, loss of control, cannibalization, unfair trade practice. These are all some of the advantages it will be listed in the diseconomies of scale. With this, I am completing my class. If you have any doubt, you can ask me now. All of you, prepare well. Thank you, my dear children. May God bless you.